Okay, leave it for later. Okay, label the axes. You have to know how to label them. We have two axes. The x-axis is horizontal, which means it goes left to right. So this here we can call x. Sometimes we put it on that side, sometimes we put it on that side. It doesn't really matter. We also have a y-axis. The y-axis goes vertical, and for those that don't know, that is up and down. So we have a y-axis. It's kind of like two number lines over top of each other. Should all be a review of last year. So then we have our quadrants. We have quadrant 1, which is the top right. Quadrant 2, top left. And the bottom left, we have quadrant 3. So it's counterclockwise. And quadrant 4, bottom right. Okay, so we're going counterclockwise when we're labeling, starting in what we usually use for our science type graphs, the first quadrant. Okay. Ordered pairs are bracket, a number, comma, a number, and a bracket. So our x value goes first, that tells us to go left or right. Our y value is second, that tells us to go up or down. Positive x's are right, negative x's are left. Positive y's, like a thermometer, are up, and negative y's, like a thermometer, are down. Okay. So that tells us an ordered pair. An example would be 3, 4. Okay, so this would be our x value 3, y value of 4. Now we have a special point right here where they meet. What do we call that? What's the values of those points? 0, 0. What do we call that point? Not the meeting point. The origin, like the origin of life, the beginning. That's where you should start counting from. Okay. Good. Coordinates of points in each quadrant. For quadrant 1, what do we know about all the points in quadrant 1? What kind of x values will they be? Positive. Y values? Y is also positive values. So right here in this quadrant, we'll always have plus plus for points. So 3 plus 4, something like that. Quadrant 2. So quadrant 2 is over here. What kind of y and x values will we have? Dion? Don't ask it then. X value will be negative, y value will be positive. Please right now do quadrant 3 and quadrant 4. Go. Okay, Devinder, quadrant 3.
Negative.
Good. Kind of a special one, right? Next one, quadrant 4. Wilson?
Negative, positive.
I had it backwards though. Yeah, positive, negative. Okay. X is always first. Okay, so plotting points, you have to be able to plot a point. Here we have A is 3, 2. So what we do is we start here at the origin. We count right 3 because it's positive 3. And we count up 2 because it's positive 2. And when we stop, we put a point. And we label it with the letter A. So that there is point A, 3, 2. Okay. What about 3 over 2? What can help us there? What can we do with that number? Any ideas? A fraction? Turn a fraction into a decimal, right? Because you guys are better at plotting that. So negative 1.5. So we're going to be, here's negative 1, here's negative 2. So that means we're going to be smack dab in the middle. We won't be on the corner of a grid. And we count up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So right here is our point. We put a dot, and we'll label it with the letter B. And so there's point B. It's not on the corner of a grid because one of the numbers is not a whole number. So you can plot decimals and fractions on this grid all you want. Please plot C and D right now. Go. Plot. So you should have pulled out your calculator to find out the value of square root 7, 2.65. Okay. So C is easy. It's negative 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to the left. Down 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right here. Here we have C. Okay. D is 2.65, a little bit over and a little bit up. Down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So a little bit to the right of half, we should put D. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Got to be able to plot a point. Our intercepts. For our x-intercept, that is where we cross the x-axis. Notice how singular it's with an I and plurals with an E. So when we cross the x-axis, what is our y value? When we are on this line right here, what is our y value? We don't go up or down, so it must be 0. Okay. So y equals 0. You have to know that. So the y will be 0, and then you can find x. So here we have the opposite intercept. The opposite intercept, y-intercept, that's where we cross the, which axis? Y-axis. And so, once again, here's your y line going up or down. Which direction don't you go anywhere? Left or right? So what should your x value be? 0. Okay, so x equals 0. And then you can use that to find your y value. So we looked at all this stuff last year. Should be somewhat familiar to you. Now we go into graphing. So always 3 points, 2 for a line. The third point is just a checkpoint. Okay. With an equation like this, we want to choose easy x values. What are some easy values for x? 0, 1, 2. So then we take those values and substitute in. And we get y equals 3 times 0 minus 3. Y equals 0 minus 3. Y equals negative 3. There you go. And so then you can do the same thing for 1. Y equals 3 times 1 minus 3. Do some bed mass. And y equals 0. 3 minus 3. Okay, do the last one. Go. Find your last point. Okay, so now that you have those points, plot them please on your grid. So there's your 3 points plotted. Now what you want to do is make a line. We don't want to make a short line because then it tells us that the line stops. This line goes forever and ever 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 and ever. How can we show that with a picture, like by a graph? Pinto? That's one way, but you'll get every question wrong in our third unit. That's something different. That's inequalities. Draw arrows. Yeah, but then you'll get every question wrong in systems. Starts with an L, ends with an ong. Long. So you want to make sure your line touches the end of the grid and is super long. I always overemphasize and show that it goes through the edges of the grid. And that helps remember, you know what, this line does not stop. It is forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. How many people don't have a ruler? Put your hands up. Good. Let me show you how to make one. It's really, really hard. Oops. You take a piece of paper and you fold it in half. There you go, straight, always. It never ceases to amaze me. Fold it in half again, and now you have an even thicker one. So everyone can draw straight lines. Don't use your pencil and just freehand it. Make a ruler right now. Go. Okay. You can also use the edge of a calculator, okay, or an eraser, but everyone has a piece of paper that they can just fold. Okay, so make your line, please, and you should always label it. Y equals 3x minus 3. Just write the equation on there. Or you can also write the number 1 because it's question number 1. Or you can write A if it's labeled with an A. Okay? Any questions? All right. So I want you to practice this now. Go ahead and practice this with question number 2. Go. The first thing I would do is move the plus 3 to the other side by going minus 3. And so now you have negative 2x plus 3 on the right. Okay, so that's what I would do first of all. So working on your algebra skills, you have to do the opposite. You have to keep it equal. Okay, so that's question number 2. So I can write the equation, or what else could I do? Put the number 2 beside the top of the line. Okay, so now your line is labeled, you know which one it's talking about. Any questions? All right, turn it over. So now we do a different type of graphing. This is graphing using intercepts. When you're stuck on your worksheet and you don't know what to do, please turn to this section. Okay, so what we do here is we have to find where does it cross the x-axis. Actually, let's cross the y-axis. So if it's crossing the y-axis, which value should be 0? Here's x, here's y. It's crossing this line, so what should be 0? X equals 0. Okay. So we can then find the y value. So 4 times 0 minus 2y equals 8. All I'm doing is taking this 0 value, substituting into my equation, And then I'm going to figure out what y equals by doing the math. Okay, so go ahead and do that right now. Do a little bit of algebra. We will get 0 minus 2y equals 8, because 4 times 0 is 0. What is 0 minus 2y? Well, it's negative 2y. That's a bit of a trick. Now we have negative 2y, which is the same as negative 2 times y. What's the opposite of times? Divide. So y equals 8 divided by negative 2, negative 4. Okay. So now we're halfway there. But now we have to ask ourselves, well, we want to find when we cross the x-axis. So we're crossing the x-axis, this one right here that's horizontal. Which value is 0? We don't go up or down, so y equals 0. And now we do the same idea. We use our equation 4x minus 2 times 0 equals 8. Go ahead, we've substituted 0 in here for the letter y. Do your math now, find your x value. So you want to see what x equals. I get x equals 2 because we have to divide by 4. And so that is another value. Okay, x equals 2. So let's plot this line and graph it, and then I'll show you why we're doing that and then finding the third point. Okay, so plot 0, negative 4, and plot 2, 0, and make your line. We should label it as well, 4x minus 2y equals 8. Okay. So the third point is we want to check. We want to make sure we didn't screw this up. And so we're going to choose an easy value. Can anyone pick another easy number? 1? Sure. So let's say let's say y equals 1, because it'll be easier. So we had 4x minus 2 times 1 equals 8. 4x minus 2 equals 8. 4x equals 6. X equals 6 divided by 4, which is what? 1.5. So we just want to check, is that on our line? So we go over 1.5 and up to 1, and guess what? Check. Yes, it's on the line. Okay, so that is on the line. Any questions? A lot of times I don't do that third point. I should though. A lot of times I don't. Oh, that's recorded. I mean, I always do that third point. I would never ever be lazy and not do it. Ooh. Standby 1. Oh, I add 2. Thank you. How embarrassing. Now I know what you guys feel like. Ten divided by, yeah, you're used to it, thanks. 2.5. There we go. Woo! I was cheating there because I remember it from last class, last block. Okay, now we have special lines. These ones you should just look at them and know how to plot them, but pretend you don't. Oh wait, maybe you don't. So, we're going to make an XY chart. What are some easy values for X? 0, 1, 2. Okay, plug those into your equation. Y equals -2. Tell me what the Y value is. X equals 0. What does the equation say for Y? -2. Oh, okay. Now X changes. It's 1. What does the equation say for Y? Oh, okay. X equals 2. What does the equation say for Y? Bet you it looks like we got a pattern. Try to figure out how to plot the line. Plot the points, you got the line. It's a horizontal line. Okay, so this one right here at Y equals -2, it goes all the way across. So you don't really need to do the table of values if you know how to plot it. Y equals -2. For this next one, it's the opposite. So because it's X instead of Y. So instead of horizontal, it should be vertical. Okay. Now you could do an XY chart if you wanted. X is 5, X is 5, X is 5, X is 5. Go ahead and make up numbers for Y. It doesn't matter. If you want some easy numbers, I can give them to you. Go ahead, plot the line. So X equals 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this line goes straight up and down. Right there. And so you can label it as well. X equals 5. Okay. Good. Any questions? Okay, so this next one here, this is going to be graphing an equation. The cost for cutting trees is $40 for showing up, and $15 for every tree cut. So if he shows up and doesn't even cut a tree, how much does he get paid? What if he cuts 5 trees? How much does he get paid for showing up? What if he cuts 200 trees? How much does he get paid for showing up? So $40 never changes. Instead, it stays constant. Okay. What about $15 for every tree? Ignore the 40. If he cuts 1 tree, he would get 15. 2 trees? 4 trees? 45? Okay. So what are you doing? 15 plus 3 plus every tree? What are you doing with the number of trees in 15? Multiplying. Okay, so the cost equals $15 times how many trees he cuts plus the constant, or $40 just for showing up. Okay. So what we can do now is make a science type graph. I'll help you with that a little bit. First of all, here we're going to plot the number of trees. This here will be the cost, and our units will be dollars and in brackets. So it's kind of a science type graph. We'll start at 0, 0. Here we'll go up by ones. And number of trees, we can go up by tens. Okay, so then you can plot your points and make your graph. Go ahead, I'll let you do that. So 0 and 40. 5, Okay, so plot your points and then you can make your nice line all the way through. Okay, make sure you use a ruler. If one of your points is off, what should you do? Check it. You might have plotted it wrong or calculated it wrong. These are all straight lines that we're making. So a couple things to point out. You'll notice your equation. What's the constant in your equation? It's 40. And where do you start on your y-axis, or where do you touch your y-axis? At 40. Okay. Now 15 has a relationship as well. Tomorrow we're going to look at slope or steepness of the line, and that's what the 15 is represented by. But now we can answer this question that we have an equation. C equals, what's the cost if we cut down 25 trees? So T equals 25. What does the cost equal? So we substitute into our equation and do a little bit of bed mass and solve. And then we get $415.